Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to another pick a card reading on my channel, Sienna Unfiltered Tarot. So for this reading, this is a message from your shadow self or your shadow side, and I intend to illuminate what you need to know at the time that you see this video. It is timeless. That might be affecting your present life, okay? So that you can take steps to increase your awareness, and hopefully this clarity helps you see the bigger picture. So the first pile is pile 1 with a piece of red jasper. Pile 2 is this moonstone pendant. And pile 3 is a piece of black tourmaline. Okay, and you also are free to pick more than one pile, or you might listen to the whole video as a whole and then pick what piles you vibed with the most. So with that being said, I will see you on the other side, sending you all my love, light, and good vibes. And hopefully I'll see you in a reading soon. Toodles! Hello, pile 1. Welcome to the messages from your shadow self. So we have today for tomorrow with the number 32 and the full moon, showing the stage of acceptance. We also have the element tin with the number 21 and Jupiterian energy. And finally, we have volcano. So with volcano, I think of repressed emotions, right? Repressed or suppressed emotions, repressed memories that could still be very triggering. And this could be an acute trauma, so a big T trauma, or a little t trauma, meaning that it was over the course of many years. And this is what we call complex trauma, because there wasn't just one event, but rather an amalgamate. Is that a word? Amalgamation or accumulation of events. Right now, I just want to sage your energy because I feel like a cleanse is needed right now. And it's a nice way to begin our reading. But I'm going to sage the microphone and the camera and your vibes. Okay, just take a deep breath and set the intention. Now, if you notice, we have today for tomorrow, and someone might be helping you recognize that you can do this, that you can overcome these hurdles that you've been facing. And this could be trauma that happened within your home. This could be a traumatic relationship with your mother or with your siblings. Like something might have happened that either brought you together or threatened to tear you apart. But you notice that they're wearing 2 black dresses. Like this could be you and your inner child, you and your future self. This could be a sibling, or this could be a mother-daughter duo. And with the metal tin is very malleable, right? It can adapt just like Jupiter. And so even though these emotions and these memories can cause us to erupt at times, we also have to remember that it is with this eruption that we're able to start again. And that doesn't necessarily mean we're forgetting these memories or we are, just dismissing these emotions, but it's the power of release. And your shadow self, I think, is asking you to find that release for yourself. And if you don't believe that you can do it on your own, then by all means, see a professional, seek out like a licensed therapist, okay? Now, this to me is like your shadow self is also telling you that it's okay to change course. Some of you might feel pressure to stay on one track, mostly because you're afraid to admit defeat. It feels like this pile is afraid to fail. And I want to reassure you that failure is not the end all be all. And we are not placed on this planet. Our soul doesn't just reincarnate on this planet to do one thing, right? There's a whole spectrum of possibility that we can call in at any time. With 3, we have communication. 2, we have the house of self-worth and our values. And those values are allowed to change over time. I want to bring in some book magic here. We have The Portable Therapist by Dr. Susanna McMahon, if I'm saying that right. So I'm just going to turn to a random page and see what it says. Okay, I'm going to choose this page. What is the answer? And it's 41. 41 also reduces to 5. We have 32, which reduces to 5. So 5 is the number of change, right? 5 is the number of freedom. The question has 2 possible answers and 2 different ways to behave depending upon your answer to the question. How do I feel about myself right now? Answer 1, I feel good about myself. I like what I did or thought or said. I am doing the best that I can. Behavior 1, reward yourself, pat yourself on the back, smile at yourself in the mirror, buy yourself a treat, say something nice to yourself, say, I did well. Answer 2, I feel bad. I don't like what I did, said, or thought. I wish I had not done that. I'm uncomfortable about this. Behavior 2, do not punish yourself. Do not say bad things about or to yourself. Do not allow guilt to enter. Simply plan to do something different next time, to try another behavior or thought. Remember that you need to make mistakes in order to learn. Also remember that by making mistakes and learning from them, you will be expanding your repertoire and practicing, utilizing your newly learned skills. You are human. You are imperfect. You will do things that you do not like, do not feel good about. Being human means that you're allowed to make mistakes. Having self-esteem means that you can forgive yourself when you make mistakes. Make amends, be sorry, and then let it go. Get on with living. And I think that's a beautiful message because there isn't just one right answer or one right way of doing things. And there's also this limiting belief that you have to censor yourself or filter yourself. And granted, there's the register that we use when we're surrounded by different people and in different circumstances. But there's also this fear of expanding who you are authentically. Like it feels some of you might be keeping secrets about yourself because you're afraid about what it would mean for other people to get to know the real you. Like this almost feels like you're putting a mask on for everyone else. And that's okay. Like it's okay because this is a journey. And not every part of that journey is obviously going to be smooth sailing. That being said, you are going to learn about yourself within the context of relationships, relative to family, relative to romantic and platonic friendships and acquaintanceships. So I'm going to get some tarot cards to explore your shadow side, or what else your shadow side wants to reveal. And this is a timeless reading, so whenever you click on it, some of you might have Jupiter in your second or third or fifth house. Okay. Pile 1. What does their shadow self want to reveal? I'm almost hearing that there's some sort of grieving process that is happening, and you're learning how to accept this new path that you need to take, but you're not ready, or you haven't made that clear to certain people, almost because you're afraid that they won't approve of you afterwards. And I remember, okay, before we get into it, I remember that I was a sophomore in college, and I was having, I was not doing well. And I listened, I wanted so badly to be a pre-med student, because that's what my father, he was like, you have 2 options. You can be, you have 3 options. You can be a lawyer, you can be a doctor, you can be an engineer. And I chose doctor because I really wanted to save lives and help people and everything. So that was the path that I took. It's hilarious to me because when I was 13, I wanted to be a writer. I never wanted to be a doctor. That was just not a part of me, and then until it was forced upon me. And then when I obviously said that I wanted to be a doctor, you get positive feedback or positive reinforcement back. So it wasn't until my sophomore year of college, I was failing. And it wasn't just that, freshman year, I was failing my classes. I was also on diagnosed ADHD, but it wasn't anything that I was super passionate about. I still didn't understand chemistry. It was a bad time. And it was sophomore year. It was November of that year where I was I need to withdraw from organic chemistry. And it's so weird. It almost felt like the universe was telling me to switch to an English major, switch to an English major, switch to an English major. And when I did, I blossomed into this whole new version of myself that I never could have imagined if I stuck in that track. And I was so terrified of what everyone was going to think of me when they found out, especially my best friend Brittany, who I have now been friends with for 8 years. I was so scared that people were going to tell me that I was stupid because I was no longer doing pre-med. And I think that was just that inner voice in my head that was telling me that. Because when I finally told her, she was totally cool and fine and super supportive. And so I don't know, it's just, I think college forces you to ultimately learn about yourself relative to what it is you want to pursue in the future, right? Okay, so if you're changing majors, I don't want you to shame yourself about leaving the old one behind, because ultimately it was not yours to begin with. It was somebody else's dream. Thing that we have the 5 of Pentacles, because the 5 of Pentacles in typical tarot imagery are these it features these two people walking in the freezing cold past this church, and usually the Five of Pentacles are representative of the stained glass. In this one, it like they're strapped to this tree, and it's like this journey moving forward, and how you're holding on to these pieces that make up your identity that it feels like you haven't questioned if they're if they're really meant for you, or if, again, they're for somebody else. But the Five of Pentacles, I think, also represents that is telling me that you're a work in progress. And that's okay. We're all works in progress. And it's, again, all about through these experiences in which we learn more about ourselves. And I'm hearing that you need to ask yourself what it is that you want and what it is that you need. And that's all that you need to fulfill. You don't have to worry about what somebody else wants from you, right? And oh my gosh, we have the Ace of Cups on the bottom of the deck, which is just this outpouring of self-love. And I think that you might feel unworthy. You might be feeling stuck in the trenches of this negative mindset because you're judging yourself for not being able to do something. But the truth of the matter is, there's something else meant for you to do that only you can do. And you're dismissing that. It's okay to feel your feelings. However, you also need to know how to get back up and how to take that first step forward. This almost feels like this almost feels like this family tree, and how like maybe you come from a long line of doctors, and so that's what you assume, or that's what is assumed of you, that you're going to be a doctor. Or maybe you come from a line of engineers and you're like, okay, well, I guess I'll just be an engineer, without actually asking yourself if that's what you really want. And it's almost like you're suffocating your potential. You're depriving of oxygen and resources. We have the King of Pentacles. So this, again, could be fear of disappointing your father or a father figure in your life. The King of Pentacles wants abundance and blessings for everyone. And maybe you're afraid to ask for help. Or you're afraid to ask for guidance because you don't want to be given the wrong answer, or you don't want to be wrong. What if the King of Pentacles is you in the future, and looking at this image in the now seems really weird? Like, it just is like, this is like, I don't know how I'm getting from the Five of Pentacles all the way to the King of Pentacles. But the King of Pentacles sees every challenge as an opportunity to grow further. And if you're not admitting to yourself that maybe things need to change, or maybe I need to do something different, it's almost like Einstein defining insanity as doing the same thing but expecting a different result. I am also sensing that there's someone in your life who has this King of Pentacles. And again, they don't have to necessarily be male or identify as a male. This is just somebody who is a master of the material world. And know that they have your back regardless of what it is you choose for yourself. But sometimes I think that you might have it in your head, or you might have been shown conditional love, where it's like, I'm only going to love you if you do this. But if you choose something different, It's almost like they're giving you a choice. Do you want to be you for you, or do you want to be you for me? I love this that we have the Page of Swords, because the Page of Swords demonstrates reflection. It demonstrates learning more about yourself and also giving yourself the grace to make those mistakes. We also, the card at the bottom of the deck is the Three of Wands, which talks about expansion. But with like the Page of Swords, this is all about asking yourself those questions that have been lingering, and like just putting them, like getting them out there or putting them on paper. Like journaling might be a very strong way for you to express yourself, even if it's just getting those thoughts on paper to create that physical separation. Can you clarify any, hold on, let me see. I'm getting some tea leaf oracle. That was a lot. I'm going to reset my camera. Okay, in hindsight, it's not that many. So, Rose, romance is in the air. Maybe you are either not in the same, well, and that's okay. Like, you don't have to be in the same career category as your partner, or you don't, like, I feel like you're afraid of disappointing your partner. And just know that if it's the right one, they're not going to judge you. They just want to help you out. We have heart, love, deep affection, and caring. This is what your inner child needs from you, is your whole heart. And maybe your whole heart has not been... I'm getting this image of your heart being a piece of paper and you're just crumbling it up and throwing it in the trash. And you're putting yourself last. And your spirit guides are encouraging you to put yourself first. Like a warm cup of tea. Just what can you do to self-soothe in the now? The King of Pentacles could also be someone who has experienced something similar as you. And I'm also being told that you need to separate your self-worth from a GPA, a number on the scale, the number of dollars that you have in the bank. Like, none of that contributes to your identity and who you are. Your identity is much deeper than the work that you do or the accomplishments that you've achieved. We also have wealth. So again, maybe you're terrified of, okay, someone's angry outside. There's this fear that maybe you won't be enough in the eyes of those who love you. And again, there's a wealth of resources that you have access to, is what I'm hearing as well. So identifying how you can make use of this wealth of resources is something that maybe your shadow self wants you to consider. We have fair man. Dealings or a relationship with a man with blonde, gray, or white hair. This could be a professor. This could be a therapist. This could be a father figure. This could be even a grandfather. This could be somebody whose opinion means a lot to you. I also want to consider, like, your shadow self is asking you, like, what would your future self say to you now? And it's not about appeasing the elders, even though it feels like you're under a lot of pressure to do so. It's more about what you can do to please yourself. And you don't have to think about the next 10 years, okay? But what does the next step look like on these steps here? And finally, we have butterfly. Butterfly is a change for the better. So your spirit guides are asking you to consider, what does this transformation look like now? Like maybe it's a new major and you're afraid to admit that you couldn't do major X. Perhaps major Y is going to be this moment where you truly shine for your abilities, right? And you don't have to play pretend anymore. We also have on the bottom of the deck, we have wall, which talks about a misunderstanding. And it's okay. Our brains are all wired differently. For example, I suck at chemistry. I suck at it. I couldn't tell you, I just, it's not my jam, okay? And I have tried to make it my jam for so long. Since high school, I was struggling. And you know what? I found English. I found the ability to be a therapist in training. I found political activism. I found so many parts of myself that I didn't even know were there, that were lying dormant, that it blows my mind. And you know what? My sister, she's a chemical engineer. We are two different people and our brains don't work in the same way, but I wouldn't trade my brain for anything in the world. And I know she wouldn't trade her brain for anything in the world. And that's okay. Try new things out. Take an internship. Doing something you've always wanted to do. But also forgive yourself. It's important to not be so hard on yourself for needing to change directions, because that's also part of life. I want to get a affirmation card, an affirmative card, to close this reading so that I can leave you with some peace and positivity. I lied. I do that a lot. I'm just not in the bad sense, but I really wanted to get one of these cards as well. What does pile 1 need to know about their shadow self? What does pile 1? Okay, I'm going to take the ones that came out face up. I don't know what this is. Petite grain, I don't know. We have independence. Oh my gosh. We have the trigger statement. I am just like my mother, father. Fill in the blank there. The truth statement. I am free to choose. You are ready to break free of the conditioning that has bound you so that you may continue your journey of healing and growth. This is this 3 of Wands here and the Page of Swords. This is learning how to create a path that is sustainable for you and your needs. We have declutter, lemongrass. I made so many mistakes is the trigger warning. The truth statement. I let it all go. Everything you have done up to this point is leading you to where you need to be. Let go of the past and be here now. I also want to say let go of expectations. Expectations inherently are selfish, and I don't mean that in a mean way, but they're personal, and sometimes it helps us to lower our expectations because we cannot control, our expectations inherently are set so that we have an idea of what the outcome is going to be. But that's not necessarily how life works. And it can help to lower our expectations, both of ourselves and of others. We also have sandalwood. Awareness. I never get what I want is the trigger statement, the truth statement. I'm a powerful creator. Listen to your inner voice. Release your ideas of the outcome. And oh my gosh, we were just talking about that. Release your ideas of the outcome you wish to see and trust that you are aligned with the universe. What is happening to you, like what is happening for you, not to you, is what I meant to say. Okay, so now we're going to get an affirmator. So trust that what is happening. And the Five of Pentacles, you can see this as like a checkpoint. Okay, how are you doing? Are you proud of the work? Or do you feel like you need to go back and reassess, you know? I'm going to take both the card that I drew and then the card on the back of the deck because I'm feeling it. Okay, so the first one we have curiosity. Actual school may have taught me that studying is kind of boring, but the school of life proves that playful as heck exploration plus around every corner inspiration abound. So today I'll brush away any been there, done that dust from my eyes and brighten them with a fresh and glossy coat of curiosity. Excelsior. New expression I'll start using as soon as I found out what it means. And it's okay not to know things. And I think that curiosity is something that we need in life. And it sort of gauges our interaction with the people around us, but also the situations. Like if we're not curious anymore, then it's like we don't necessarily care to learn how to explore this new environment or this new person. Nurturing curiosity might be something that you need to work on instead of like shutting down, which is, I'm not telling you what you should be doing, but if you feel like curiosity has been lacking lately, maybe it's time to talk with someone, you know, who's not just a pair of hands on the internet. We have reading between the lines. The Daily Gazelle. I'm dead. I love these cards. I'm intuitive, and my intuition allows me to hear way more than just the words my loved ones are saying. With this power to read between the lines, I see that the words I love you might rarely be spoken, but their sentiment lurks in the phrases like, I changed your oil, here's that article, and did you use up all that A1 sauce? So essentially, like, again, there's more than one way to interpret life. When life gives you lemons, make lemonade. But then at the same time, again, what if you don't like lemonade? Or what if the lemons are bad? And it's like all of these what ifs. But also, like, what if you made lemonade and you made enough money to grow a business? You know, you never know until you try. My battery's about to die, so I'm going to leave you here. Pile 1, I ended up doing charms for both groups 2 and 3. Sometimes when one pile calls me to do charms, I will, not necessarily the others, but because I did it for both piles 2 and 3, I wanted to do it for you as well. So here we go. And plus, your reading got cut short, so. I always like close my eyes. Okay. We have the flower. We have the peacock. The flower, I take it to mean that flowers don't compare themselves. They don't compare their measure of growth to someone else. They just grow pointed to the sun. They're not looking at what everybody else is doing. I'm sorry. I'm trying to like tear this little wire piece off. Mission accomplished. Also, I'm realizing that the gem is in the center, and the center is also where the nectar is. That's where, you know, bees and hummingbirds, they get that nutrient. So you don't have to change who you are to be sweet. You don't have to change who you are to attract beautiful souls into your life. You are a beautiful soul in it of itself. So don't worry about what other people are telling you. And peacocks are not afraid to strut their stuff. We have the sun. I was just saying about the flower, and here we are. We have another flower here. We have another, like a big flower. So maybe the relationship you had to your caregiver was a little bit tumultuous. Or maybe at times you felt like you had to pick sides when you were little. If that makes sense. XOXO. Maybe somebody didn't always tell you how much you meant to them. And so I'm telling you that you mean a lot to this world and to those that love you. And then we have this leopard here, or cheetah. I don't know what it's supposed to be, but when someone shows you their true colors, believe that that's who they are. And you can't hide your spots no matter how hard you try. Okay? But just like every petal in this flower that makes it whole, you have different petals that contribute to who you are and to who your identity is. And granted, that's allowed to change. Just don't force the change to make other people happy or to make other people like you, because that is ultimately just a short circuit. So that's all I have for you, Pile 1. Thank you so much for being here. If you resonated with this video, give it a like, and I will hopefully see you in a reading soon. Toodles! Pile 2, welcome to your reading. This is all about messages from your shadow self. So I have some oracle cards. Hold on. I really want to cleanse your energy, because from this point, up until this point, I think that you've been carrying a great deal of heaviness within you that needs to be released. So these 3 shadow cards, again, might be themes that you've been experiencing recently, and you might not even recognize the full depth of their effect, as you might not be wholly or fully conscious of your shadow self right now. We have 23 with revenge, which illustrates, this card illustrates anger in the grieving process. We have the raven, I almost said crow, but raven's head. And then we have Mary Shelley with loss. So there could be anger as a result of this loss. You might feel like maybe someone else was the initiator of your circumstances. I'm seeing this sweater get disintegrated. And I don't know what that means, but like these threads are coming out and it's all happening so fast that before you know it, that sweater that you loved so, so, so much is now destroyed. The Raven's head is here to tell you that this is your time when, like, you're initiating the work, okay? And you might not have signed up for this. You might want to take whatever action that ensued in the chaos back, but it's too late. And with loss, if you've lost somebody physically, I am sending you my deepest condolences. It says in memory on one, and here lies on another gravestone, with this vial or this beaker containing a liquid with a skull on it. There's this feeling of anger that's making you question why them and not you for some. Or why them and not somebody else. And this loss, I think, is going to open the door to this new beginning. You might not necessarily see it yet. I'm hearing the song Bad Blood by Taylor Swift. And also Karma. Because we can want revenge as a way to feel better about the situation. However, at the end of the day, no amount of revenge can bring the person back or make the situation, revert to the way it was. And you're trying to pinpoint one source that you can, put the sword in. But like the sweater, there's so many threads that led to its disintegration. I remember, I don't know why the sweater is coming up, but I feel like I do in this way. Like, I remember I was dating, and this was sort of like a messy situation that happened, but I became friends with this one person. Let's call her Delilah. So I became friends with Delilah and her roommate. Let's call her Lily. Delilah and Lily. And like Lily and I became romantically linked, okay? And we went shopping, Lily and I. And we just took them all day to sort of just get out of the place. And this was following a pretty heavy traumatic event that happened to me. And Lily and I went to Forever 21. And Forever 21 had this men's sweater. It was amazing. And this was during November. So perfect time to wear said sweater. And I tried on. And Delilah says that it is too masculine. Or she said like I looked too gay in it. And I got so upset because then she proceeded to get scissors and cut the sweater. And she ruined the sweater. And I could not get that sweater back. They did not sell it anymore at Forever 21. And I was so infuriated that she took it upon herself to try and define an article of clothing to her needs and not my own. And in hindsight, that was one of many events that led to the loss of that friendship. And it was a loss, even though that there were things that had happened within my time knowing Delilah. Friendship, like the loss of a friendship, is almost, I would say it's worse than the loss of a romantic partner. Especially because she was there for me during my initial breakup. And I was there in part for hers. And so when shit hit the fan in Delilah and when I moved out of Delilah's house, that was like the beginning of a new chapter for me that I had not seen it yet. Like this new chapter represents this pearl. And so maybe you might not necessarily be in Delilah's shoes, or you might not even be in my shoes. I just want this story to show you that sometimes we don't necessarily see it in the moment. It's this after the fact that we appreciate the anger, I guess, at sometimes. Like sometimes feeling angry, it feels good. You might benefit, your shadow side might benefit from going to a rage room like they have the things that you can break. Someone was telling me that she would write things on a plate and then break the plate. There's also axe throwing, so certain things that you can do to sort of release this burden that has been heavy. And this could even be an ex, okay? Whether it's an ex-best friend or an ex-partner, maybe they cheated on you and there's lingering resentment there. And this revenge, it's it almost feels like I'm not happy and I don't want you to be happy either. Like when I first moved out of Delilah's home, I was so upset that she was using my fire stick that I made Lily take it out of the TV and bring it to me because I did not want Delilah having it. And that was my revenge. Oh my goodness. Okay, let's look in this Portable Therapist book, and I'm gonna pull a page of some book magic. So we turn to this page. Does evil exist? Yes. Now is the time to present an important paradox. If you are worried about being evil, you most likely are not evil. True evil does not allow for self-doubt or self-examination. Read N. Scott Peck's book, People of the Lie, for a comprehensive and enlightening discussion of nature's evil. I actually have it on my bookshelf. Are evil and being bad the same thing? No. We can and will do bad things, inappropriate, uncaring, pain-filled behaviors because we are human and therefore not perfect. These behaviors do not define us as evil people. This mistake is similar to guilt, overgeneralizing from a behavior to the whole. If we choose to continually commit behaviors that are painful to others and to ourselves, we may become evil. An examination of conscience is required to let us know when to stop, when to change, and when to make amends. If we continue along doing damage to ourselves and to others without questioning our behaviors, and if we refuse to acknowledge that we may be doing harm, then we are vulnerable to becoming evil. The underlying assumption of the theory behind self-esteem is that we are good. Lacking a conscience does not mean evil. Rather, it means sickness or handicap. In much the same way, lacking a limb means a handicap. The nature of evil implies choice. We cannot choose or be held responsible for choice if we do not have the necessary qualifications for making that choice. Evil can be defined as choosing not to do good. It most often is seen in those who put all their energy into looking good and choose not to examine themselves. Evil requires the opposite of self-esteem. There can be no exploration of the self, no responsibility for consequences, and no acceptance of the ability to do wrong, to be human. Interestingly, the externalizations which occur in the circular process of guilt can be conducive to becoming evil. I'm going to read that part again. The externalizations which occur in circular process of guilt can be conducive to becoming evil. It is easy to imagine an evil person expressing guilt, but never changing, doing evil, and blaming others. The safest way to avoid evil is to practice self-esteem and to recognize that we are all imperfect. And I think revenge, it's like you are hurting so bad that you want the other party to feel that pain because it hurts more to do it alone. And this could also talk about a breakup with a friend or a tumultuous relationship with a mother or a maternal figure. So we're going to get some tarot now to discuss and to elaborate on what your shadow self wants to communicate with you at this time. What does pile 2's shadow self wish to communicate with them at this time? That's too many cards. Okay, that's what I was going for. We have the Lovers in reverse. We have the Five of Swords. With the Six of Swords being reverse. Wow, okay. It's interesting that we have the 5 and the 5. Taurus and Gemini, like Taurus is the second house. And that rules self-worth, right? And then we have 3, which is the house of expression. It's also rules Gemini, which is the Lovers. So this could be talking about an ex, like an ex-love, an ex-friend. I get this sense that it's been hard for you to move forward. It can be hard to forgive yourself. And revenge, I don't know why I'm getting the sense too that you're almost wanting to punish yourself for not seeing what needed to be done. You might be being extremely hard on yourself because facing the reality of the situation might be more difficult to swallow and accept. And so right now, feeling angry, it feels good. There's this fixation on the past, like before the breakup, before the loss. And I don't know why, like I'm getting teary-eyed because it feels like it's not something that we can go back to. We have lost that unconditional love that we had for that person. And It forever changes the way you look at relationships moving forward. Your walls are up. Your trust is not as forthcoming. And the Six of Swords in reverse can talk about, again, being difficult to move forward. I also think it's interesting that we have 2 sixes. And 6 is the number of harmony. It's the number of progress. Them both being in reverse, it's like you need to return back to the source and make peace with it in some way. Because until this pain or this trauma is released, it can be a lot more difficult to move forward. And I'm also hearing this revenge. It's also partially motivated by anger that things happen the way that they did. And with this 5 of Swords, it almost feels like you're looking to blame yourself. And it's almost like if I'm down, I'm taking you down with me sort of mentality. I also think that you're looking to pinpoint one specific instance or one specific time. And it wasn't that. It was more. And it was more than just you, right? A situationship, a relationship, what have you. It's 2 people. So it takes 2 to tango. And you might not necessarily want to hear the other person out. Especially if there was cheating or infidelity involved, where it's like they hurt you and they did something that they can't take back. And when Delilah and I were fighting and we were moving out, I remember I call her my fairy godmother, but she was like, forgive her. And I was like, how the fuck am I supposed to forgive someone who put me in this position? And over time, I recognized that I wasn't forgiving Delilah for Delilah. I was forgiving Delilah so that I could move on and I could have peace moving forward. That being said, it wasn't like that. It didn't happen in the moment. It didn't happen months after. It took years to finally release that pain that I felt. Because you have to understand that I also rarely put myself out there. I'm somewhat of a loner. And, or I have a very small circle of friends and I don't open up to new people as easily. And I did that because I was vulnerable from my breakup. And so when I lost Delilah, I think it hurt so much more because we got through such difficult times together. That's not to say that new friends, new faces, new relationships were coming to help me heal. And I think that you might not see these new faces either. And this learning to forgive, again, might take time for you. It doesn't have to be an overnight phenomenon. The card at the bottom of this deck, I love it, is the Queen of Pentacles. The Queen of Pentacles is here to nurture your heart, nurture your soul. If this was a mother wound, that's another whole different story. And that can take years to forgive. Internal family systems therapy might be something that you are looking into, or that has something that has piqued your curiosity in the past. I am going to reset my camera because it's going to cut me out. But yeah, and the Six of Swords in reverse tells me that you still need to process this pain. This pain is going to come and it's going to go. And revisiting these memories, especially with someone who can hear you out. And obviously there is a difference between venting and then toxic dumping. And if you feel like you are consistently toxic dumping on your friends about said situation or multiple situations, again, that could be something that could be explored with the help of a therapist. And I understand, like, this is a shadow work, like, reading, okay? So there needs to be a coming to terms with where you are now. And maybe this Queen of Pentacles showing this unconditional love is something that maybe you have never been given before. I also think with the Lovers, this could be a disintegration of the self. Like, I should have known better. And that shoulda, woulda, coulda, that's also a track for Taylor Swift. It's like the Hits Differently song too. It's like, had I known that I was going to be here years later, I wouldn't have accepted like your friend request, or I wouldn't have taken you on your offer to do X, Y, or Z. But I think understanding the process as a whole is going to aid in self-exploration, but also giving you solace in moving forward. There's almost this nostalgic feeling or this desire to revisit the past and to live in the past. But living in the past does not change our present, and it does little to nothing. And it does little to nothing for our future. So I'm going to get some tea leaf oracle cards. What does pile 2's shadow self need to hear at this time? If you felt called to pile 1, I would, like, there's themes in here that is like loosely connects, but you also might just want to listen to pile 2. It's only if you feel called, and you'll know. There's a lot here, like a lot more than I thought. I'll take those 4. I'll put these back. Okay. So we have younger man, dealings or a relationship with a younger man. This could be a brother. This could be a friend of yours. Maybe it was a friend from college or high school that you are reconnecting with. I'm also going to take this as like your younger self. Like, what would you tell to your younger self? What advice would you give to your younger self? We have wheel, indecisiveness, allowing your life to ramble aimlessly. And like the wheel represents a cycle with no beginning and no end. And life moves on with or without you. We have leg, stepping into a new experience. And this obviously is maybe happening when you choose to release this anger. And obviously, don't half-ass it. Like, if you are absolutely feeling like down in the dumps and you're angry about it, like, finding ways to process that anger and release it properly is going to help you way more in the long term than just shoving it under the rug and pretending that everything is okay. Because that anger is justified, and it's coming from a place of pain and hurt. We also have September. So maybe September is going to be a month where things look very different for you, or maybe it's going to bring some sort of closure, or you'll be in an entirely different place than where you are right now. And if so, please come back and let me know that you listened to this reading and months passed, and I don't know, If not, no worries. Or maybe the loss of your person or this relationship like happened in September. Isn't that a song by Earth, Wind, and Fire? I don't know. If it is, let me know. If I'm in my head, that's okay too. Okay, so now I want to get a different deck. Pile 2. What does pile 2's shadow side want to convey to them about moving forward? Okay. We have consolation and comforting. I cannot go on is the trigger statement. The truth statement, my heart is light. Please hold space for the feelings you have. Honor them and be with them. Your burden will be lightened. I love this because it's not, again, like we're pushing our feelings under the rug, but we're having these conversations to console ourselves and whatever you need to get yourself to the other side. We have yang, I don't know how to pronounce this, but awaken. I don't know what to do is the trigger. The truth statement, every moment is a new opportunity. And these are both heart chakra cards. Take time today to engage your senses and create. The tension that has been dividing your heart and your head is leaving. And then we have rosemary with wisdom. It doesn't make sense is the trigger. The truth statement, I see the bigger picture. You are moving towards a deeper level of understanding from knowledge to wisdom. Take time to absorb the lessons. I think that loss can also show us how precious life can be, like physical loss. And maybe this is the loss of a younger man, like maybe this was your son or a brother that you lost prematurely. And that can take a very heavy, that's like a wrecking ball to your psyche, right? So find comfort where you can, okay? Find what feels good to you in the moment. Find it in your heart to forgive when you can. Don't force anything that doesn't feel right to you, because again, you are entitled to feeling your feelings. You are entitled to that validation. And again, maybe talk therapy can show you how to process that pain, instead of trying to find other ways to escape that or take it out on yourself or somebody else in the wrong way. Before we get into our last deck, I'm also feeling called to pull some charms. Interesting that we had two. We have an anchor. And maybe, again, you're not ready to anchor down and like settle with these emotions. And maybe you need a change of scenery to do so. And that's okay. I think a change of scenery helps in the sense that we don't need to worry whether or not we'll see them at the store or, pass by their neighborhood. I'm hearing, is it Cordelia Street? So again, that's okay. Or like anchor your heart. Anchor your heart somewhere different. And if it's like, maybe you feel most at peace by the water, so visiting a lake. We also have this tree, and I'm right away reminded of like the tree of life. This tree can also, like the branches are a reminder to get out of your comfort zone when you feel like you need to, and like to branch out to other friends and to other sources of love that you know that you can trust. This can also be talking about learning to understand generational trauma and healing those wounds moving forward. Okay. I heard like established new roots somewhere. So again, maybe moving, and even like it doesn't necessarily mean like moving across the country. This could also be like, getting a change of scenery temporarily. We have options. As I open to the abundant possibilities of my life's path, I'm reminded that I always have unlimited options. Life is a buffet, and I allow myself to choose whatever makes me happiest without limiting thoughts like you can't put mac and cheese on your baked potato. But also, like, there is more than one source of love out there in the world, and it's okay to feel this loss, but also don't allow it to take away from all the possibility that's out there, right? I'm curious to see the card at the bottom of the deck. We have care. I care about feelings, both my own and everyone else's. So I choose to use care when speaking to people, especially those with whom I share DNA and or a bidet. Care means I'll try not to accidentally make anybody feel bad, which means I won't accidentally feel worse. Then no one will have to try and figure out what accidentally happened when we accidentally spoke, like accidental monsters. And I think that you could be feeling careful about who you open up to because you're afraid of creating unnecessary tension with somebody else, or you're afraid to feel uncomfortable within these feelings. And again, that is why someone who is licensed to someone who's licensed as a counselor might be beneficial, because you're not parading around as if everybody or everything is fine. Like, that anger is going to find different outlets to escape, and that those might not necessarily be the healthiest ways to cope and to move forward. It could also keep you stuck. But learn to forgive yourself, learn to forgive others, and learn to forgive this anger that is bubbling up inside you. Use this anger as motivation to heal, okay? So that you can be your best self. So that's all I have for you, Pile 2. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'm sending you all of the good vibes in the universe. Toodles! Pile 3, welcome to your reading all about the shadow work or your shadow self wants to reveal to you at this time. So the first card we have is Obsession, and it's the number 3, and this particular image, it almost looks like a giant contact lens that she's holding. I'm assuming it's a lens, and this can talk about the fixations that we develop to be the person that somebody else wants to see. and mask the authentic parts of ourself. You could find that you have to sort of put on a performance in a sense when you are in public or when you're talking to people, especially ones who you're not super familiar with or people that you don't know. You could have a stellium in your third house, or you could have Gemini as your sun, moon, rising, or Venus, meaning that you also this card makes me think that you are almost hungry for people's approval. And your spirit guides might be wanting you to seek the approval of yourself first and foremost, and not be so afraid of your authentic self. We also have breath with the number 36. So 3 and 6 coincidentally are the houses ruled by the planet Mercury, so Gemini and Virgo. There's also 3 and 6 summing up to 9. So the 9th house of Jupiter, which is the house associated with expansion. We also have breath. And you know, like how when you're anxious, you like hold your breath, or you feel like your breath is pressurized in a sense. This is almost calling for a breath of fresh air. And I also recognize that 3, 6, and 9 and 12 are all by association mutable houses. So they're a little bit more flexible. And with your breath, this might be something that you can control and help. And your breath is the barometer of your amygdala, right? And your body, and you can control it. And so that might be something that your spirit guides are encouraging. And then we have Janet Frame with belonging. And again, this is all about your struggle to belong, or you don't necessarily feel like everyone else. You don't feel validated. Your experiences don't feel validated by others. There's the breath of fire where you go and you let it out. And as you do it, you notice how your chest opens up and how your mouth sort of relaxes and your face muscles relax. Like it feels like you guys are very high strung, especially when it comes to social settings. You might be very anxious when it comes to meeting new people, or you feel almost like you have to prepare before you can socialize, which I'm not judging. I'm not saying any of this. I'm just to like in a judgmental way. I am just sort of picking up the vibes of the cards. This is a very new deck to me. I got it a couple days ago, so I'm just going to read it from the book so we can experience some of this magic together. We have inspiration, presence, life force. There is no more direct way to practice alchemy than to study pneuma. We all have access to the mystical phenomenon known as the breath. It occurs at every moment, gracing us with the gift of existence upon the physical plane. Alchemy, as it is suggested in this book, is the merging of physical and mystical. Then this card serves as our ever-reliant bridge. It is the magical within us the expanding and generating life force that animates our life. This card may appear simple, but it's not. No matter how advanced you are in studying the breath, if you heed the message of this card, you will find it has more to teach. Bow to it at this very moment, and you will discover this work revitalizes itself. New space opens. Pneuma is your lifelong chemical ally, stating its love with every inhale and exhale. And then we have, it is no coincidence that nearly every spiritual and mystical lineage bows to the breath via observation of it, meditation, breath techniques, pranayama, or chanting or song. And I'm also getting the image of a Kundalini awakening or Kundalini courses. So some of you might consider also yoga. When the Pneuma card appears, it is a call to make room, to expand, and to soften the approach to the work. The other cards present in this reading may benefit from more spaciousness too. And again, with space, maybe you've never felt like you've been able to belong in a group because you were always terrified of what they'd think of you. And that might come from childhood conditioning as well. Going with the theme here of books, we have the Portable Therapist. So I'm just going to flip to an open page or to a random page. Get out of town. That scares me. How do I accept myself as I am? I'm going to read from this page up to this. Actually, I'll probably read to the end of... You know what? I'm going to read the whole thing because I think you guys need to hear it. This question may be the most important one in this book. The answer lies in learning to accept the reality of ourselves without necessarily agreeing with or liking all the feelings or separate components of what we are accepting. This means that we can agree with or approve of the totality, our wholeness, without agreeing with or approving of all our characteristics. This is the opposite of our training, which implies that we must be perfect before we can accept, agree with, and approve of ourselves. We can begin to accept the reality of ourselves, our totalities, as we are right now without needing to agree with or approve of all our parts, our roles, our behaviors. Acceptance does not mean understanding, just as most of us will never understand all the complexities of life, war, famine, pain, and death. So we will never understand all of the reasons for the complexities of ourselves. Acceptance does not mean change. Our acceptance of life does not change it, and our acceptance of ourselves will not change us. What then is acceptance? It means to take something, to receive willingly, to approve. It may be difficult to approve of ourselves when we are wishing that we're different, but it's critical for the development of self-esteem to begin to accept the reality and totality of ourselves. Acceptance means seeing ourselves as we are right now and allowing ourselves to be. As Popeye so wisely stated, I am what I am, and that's all that I am, and it's enough for this moment. Acceptance of self means really looking at yourself and seeing what you are inside and out without judgment. It is the same process of meditating on yourself or being an objective observer of yourself. You suspend the judgment and see what you are, or what you are all about. You take a good hard look at the reality of yourself. This process is not easy, but necessary. One way to do this is to stand naked in front of a mirror and look at yourself. Do not stop looking when you see something you do not like. Keep looking until you become neutral about what you're seeing. Now you have observing eyes. Keep looking at yourself until you see past the skin and the fat and the surface. Keep looking until you can see through the externals. Do not be afraid. You are observing the reality of yourself, and when you have seen it all, accept it. This is you, warts and all. You will see good things, external and internal, that you want to keep, and you'll see some things that you want to get rid of. You'll see a human being. Do not act or react, merely observe. And when you're finished, tell yourself that everything you have seen is okay. Not good or bad, right or wrong, but just okay. This is acceptance. Another way to learn to accept yourself is to take a piece of paper and draw a vertical line down the middle. On one side, label a column, things I like about me. Label the other side, things I don't like about me. Then fill in both columns. Take your time and add things as they occur to you. Again, do not be afraid. Most people find it easier to fill in the don't like side, and they have more difficulty with the like side. This is because of our faulty training. Keep at it until you have a composite picture of yourself. If you need help, ask your family and friends, and especially your role models, for help. When you have finished, think about a coin. A coin has two sides. Neither side is right or wrong or better. Now think of your lists as two sides of the coin. In order to have one side, you must have the other. Try to figure out how the one side depends on the other. For example, if you like the fact that you are an organized person and you dislike the fact that you are too compulsive over certain things, try to see the relationship between the two. You cannot always be organized without sometimes being compulsive. If you like the fact that you are patient and dislike the fact that you are sometimes slow and pedantic, again, see the relationship between the two. You may really like the fact that you are a generous person financially and emotionally, but you may dislike the fact that you sometimes feel that others take advantage of you. Can you see the relationship between the two sides? The light side and the dark side, the side we like and the side we show to others, and the side we dislike and try to keep hidden. Nearly everything that you do not like has an opposite in something you do not... Wait, I'm going to read that again. Nearly everything that you do not like has an opposite in something that you do like. If you need help finding the positive side to something negative, ask for help. Remember that you cannot be perfect, and also remember to suspend judgment. Just as you cannot be perfect, you can also be a perfect failure, or you cannot be a perfect failure. Everything that you do not like about yourself has a counterpart in something positive. Stop looking only at the negatives and accept the positives. Try to find a balance between the two. Acceptance is the beginning. It allows you change to occur. You do not have to change in order to accept yourself. Your role models will see the positives in you. Your role models, by seeing the good in you, will give you permission to see the good in yourself. Do not be afraid. The good is there. That could not be more relatable. And I think that, again, that acceptance needs to come first so that we feel like we belong to ourselves, like the qualities we have about ourselves are true to us. Okay. Whew. Okay, with that being said, let's get into some tarot. Can you clarify what pile 3's shadow side has to say? Some of you could also have body image issues. And so I don't want you to feel like you have to put yourself on the mirror or in, like, you know, if there's some dysmorphia, do it on your own pace. And if necessary, again, get the help of a licensed professional. We have the 8 of Swords, which is Jupiter in Gemini. The 8 of Swords, I believe, is not wanting to see what's already there and choosing to find other outlets to validate that platform of ideas. It's almost like confirmation bias. You will be selective in what you choose to acknowledge as true if and only if it corroborates that thought system. But remember that that thought system is typically a product of childhood conditioning and faulty learning. And so when we can recognize that these swords are actually not keeping us safe but preventing us from moving forward, that's when that change is initiated, or when change can happen. We also have the Four of Wands. Oh, we have the Four of Wands and the Four of Cups. That's so beautiful. The Four of Cups is a little bit more sensitive and is almost too honest about what they're willing to tolerate. And also the Four of Wands shows this sense of belonging that we may feel we don't have in the moment. But I think there's a belongingness innately in knowing that we're not alone in the struggles that we face. And therefore it sort of diminishes that sense that we're isolated and we have to do it all by ourselves. You are allowed to ask for help. I think it's beautiful because on the bottom of the deck we have the Three of Cups. And so the Three of Cups is Mercury in Cancer. And it kind of shows up when we need to speak to ourselves more with love. If you can hear snoring at all, my boyfriend's asleep in the other room. And again, this is all about disengaging from the noise that is out there. And also recognizing the ups and downs as simply transitions in life. We are not meant to stay the same, and that's okay. Life is not meant to stay the same. As much as we dislike change, it's that change is necessary for us to grow. This is also like if you have been down, you might be worried to open up to your friends because you're afraid of what they say, or subconsciously you might just not want to feel as if you're a burden, and you are far from it. That is false evidence appearing real, or fear keeping you from healing and finding your truth. We have Cat, a two-faced friend, and maybe like Gemini is the twin, so this is sometimes why I think of it, but also you might be a two-faced friend. You might say one thing, right? But then to yourself, you hold yourself to a double standard and you don't allow yourself to feel bad for yourself, or you are super judgmental about maybe something similar that is happening to a friend, but to that friend, you are the most passionate person on the planet. And so your spirit guides or your shadow self is urging you to come out of that double standard. Okay. Sorry. I don't like these cards. When these cards fall, like, I get so scared. We have Purse, pay attention to your finances. And so this judgment could come from, financial disparities between you and a friend. Or let's say, you don't make as much money as your friend does. And so instead of spending time with them because you're fixated on losing money, and let's say they're, super extroverted and they want to go out and they want to try new things and everything. So you're like, okay, well, I can't hang out with them. Like, I have to let them live their life because I don't deserve to be in theirs. And that is not the case. Like, I just want to give you guys the biggest hugs in the world. we have vulture, depression, anxiety, worry that someone is against you, and then we have someone who's behaving stupidly. And honestly, your anxiety is behaving stupidly, and I know that it's just a response. And it's not necessarily something that you can control, but sometimes that voice in our head it's just stupid, okay? Like we cannot argue with somebody like with that voice that's saying, well, you're ugly, because the more times that you repeat it to yourself, the more times you take that as truth, okay? And so it's time to silence that voice and say, no, I'm creating a new one. And obviously not creating a new one, but I'm creating a new neural pathway, and I'm choosing to say no to thoughts that do not affirm my reality. And part of that, again, that first stage is acceptance, not judging yourself, but rather observing without judgment. As I was shuffling, I heard Conceal, Don't Feel from Frozen. And so that could be a line that you resonate with. Maybe as a child you were taught not to bring up things that were bothersome to others, or maybe you saw how people reacted to others oversharing and you didn't, again, want to feel like a burden, so you started bottling things up, and it carries with you, right? So let's see, what does pile 3's shadow self want them to know? We have empowered and focused with the heart chakra. I don't want to be here is the trigger statement. The truth statement, I'm exactly where I need to be. You are ready to allow the energy from the divine and Mother Earth to fuel you as you fulfill your potential here. And again, when we choose to focus on what is good and less, we focus on the good and the bad, but also like keeping your focus in the present. You're able to learn how to tap into that empowered state of mind. And when you can accept yourself as you are, it's also accompanied by making peace with yourself in the moment. You have confidence. I can't do that is the trigger statement. The truth statement is I am a light. Step forward and be the bright light that you are. Serve your purpose to the world by sharing your amazing gifts. And some of you might have imposter syndrome or just be super perfectionistic, and therefore you end up justifying your way out of sharing yourself and your gifts. And just think about how many people with this share that same mindset as you, and they starve the world from their potential. And finally, we have wild orange with good fortune. There is not enough. The truth statement, I attract abundance. Feel the joy you would have once you have reached your goals here and now. You will achieve your dreams fastest that way. And I also think it's interesting. So I would suggest looking into healing your sacral chakra, your solar plexus, and your heart chakra. Because your heart chakra is the midpoint between the higher dimensional chakras and the physical ones. And you might just feel like you're not enough. And that is a mindset that I don't want you to go on thinking, because you have so much to offer, not only the world for the sake of helping others, but just showing yourself that you are stardust. You are pure magic. And the world needs to see your light. They deserve to see your light, and so do you. I want to give you the biggest hug right now, pile 3. The biggest hug. My heart is like, I feel just a lot of warm energy in my chest. And I know that you probably make so many people's day so much brighter. And it's like, give a little light to yourself. Pile 3. Oopsies. Get out of here. Okay, I'm kind of bummed because, like, I think the ink got messed up, and that's too many, but I'll read these two. So we have no judgment. I release myself from any and all judgments. I find my inner critic, call it into my office, and tell it to take a vacation. As it leaves the room, I let out a sigh and begin to enjoy the joy of simply being. Who hired that guy anyway? And then we have forgiveness. It's okay. Oh my gosh, I thought this was a fish. It's a blimp. Because I thought these were bubbles. I forgive myself unconditionally for any and all shortcomings, imperfections, foibles, fumbles, flops, or failures of my past, present, and chances are TBH future. I might not be perfect, but I am a perfect being, and I will continue to be perfectly imperfect with all the joy and acceptance I can possibly muster. Giddy up. So again, forgiving ourselves sort of frees up this extra space that we are dedicated to essentially being a bully to ourselves. And what could we do with that energy other than focus on being our own worst enemy? You know, like what possibilities could it open up for others and for yourself, honestly? Okay, so now I'm going to just get some charms. Okay, so we have Mother Mary and a cross, and I'm seeing this as to have faith, but also Mary was a symbol of unconditional love. I'll take that off. But yeah, so Mother Mary, maybe you are healing a relationship with your mother. We also have the crab, which is Cancer. So some of you might have Cancer as your sun, moon, rising, or Venus. We have the wolf. So maybe you feel a connection to the wolf spirit. Or Women Who Run with the Wolves might be a book that you want to check out. And then we have BFF. So you might want to have a conversation with your BFF, someone who you know gives the best pep talks. And honestly, I usually say that or I've come to accept that conversations with your best friends can sometimes be angels speaking through them in reminding you what they want you to know. And so also, whenever you have a conversation with a best friend, you always feel better than you did before. So don't kid yourself. Make the call or make plans to have a conversation. Yeah. Because they'll inspire you in ways that you can't even imagine. So that's what I have for you, Pile 3. Thank you so much for being here. I hope to see you in another reading soon. And I'm sending all the good vibes your way. Toodles!